to the Leadership Lounge, where real leaders spill the real tea. I'm Cindy Hook, and every week we're pulling back the curtain on the wins, the stumbles, and the wild ride to the top. From bold ideas to behind-the-scenes lessons, it's all here, unfiltered, inspiring, and full of real-world wisdom. So grab your coffee, get comfy, and let's dive in. All right, hello and welcome to the Leadership Lounge. I'm Cindy Hook, and this podcast is all about honest conversations, the kind where we trade polished speeches for real stories. Leadership, after all, isn't lived in press releases or LinkedIn posts, but in the messy, meaningful moments that define us. Each episode, we'll sit with leaders. You've walked the walk, stumbled, and stood up again, and see what we can all learn from their journey. Today, I am ecstatic to welcome Ed Dodd from, if I say it, Katz, Kloses, right? There's a lot of K's in there. Katz to Closes?
Katz never closes the tagline.
Katz never closes.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for being on our very first Leadership Lounge before we were technically speaking. So I'm so excited. Can you tell us a little bit, kind of run through your past and what you're doing today, where you are?
Absolutely, Cindy. Thank you for having me. I look forward to speaking with you. I've been in restaurants and in leadership positions for over 30 years, and it all started back in the 90s when I was in my 20s with a company, a multi-brand company here in Houston that I kind of cut my teeth with. And I started as a server, bartender, and kind of the age-old story, worked my way up. And by the time I was in my late 20s, I was the director of operations for the company, 20 units and 5 different brands. And it was a great learning experience. They probably should have had somebody more experienced than me in that role at the time, but it was a great learning experience for me. And after that, I went to work for one of the largest restaurant companies in the world, Landry's, and I was with the Saltgrass brand for about 16 years. And then we acquired a brand out of California called Claim Jumper. I think there's a couple in Arizona where you are.
Yes.
And I spent a few years transitioning that company into the organization, and then came back to Texas and went to work got in the dine-in movie industry space. I worked for Alamo Drafthouse Cinema and spent almost 10 years there with those guys, and it was such an interesting time. Learning 45,000 square foot buildings with 10 unique dining rooms, trying to serve people in the dark that you can't talk to, and you don't really get any body language from them about how they're enjoying their experience. So it was definitely a challenging and great and interesting time. And then I ended up here at Katz's. I've been here for a little over 2 years, and we're a legacy 24-hour restaurant, upper tier, not probably much better product and service than you would find at most other 24-hour full service restaurants. And we've got 4 locations here in Houston. We'll be opening our 5th in 2 weeks, 2 weeks from today to be exact. And it's been a great ride. It's been a great career.
Oh, that's awesome. I remember they had an Alamo Drafthouse in Arizona. My husband and I have been there a few times.
It's a great brand. It's a great industry. I know my friends in the restaurant business got hit hard during the pandemic.
Yeah.
But man, dine-in movie theaters, we were right up there with cruise ships and convention centers, man. It was tough. We not only was shut down a little longer than most, but when Hollywood doesn't give you any content to put on your screens, it doesn't matter how good your food is, people don't come in to eat. So, but it's a great brand.
Oh yeah, great brand, great concept. Okay, thank you so much. Was there a particular moment or turning point when you realized I've made it into leadership? What did that feel like?
It's kind of like, pardon the analogy, it's kind of like gaining weight slowly. You don't even realize it's happening, right? And I certainly look back now 20, 25 years ago and think of myself as a leader and maybe even cringe sometimes, because you're like, thank goodness I've come a long way since then. I've learned a lot along the way and had some great mentors that have taught me things along the way. But I wouldn't say there was one pivotal moment, because one thing that I know now that I didn't know then is a title or even responsibilities don't make you feel that way, and certainly don't make you a leader. So you might think that a nice business card would make you feel like a leader, but it isn't. It's really the things you've learned from the people around you, and really, I guess the true mark is when people start following you, you're a leader, right? And
Yeah.
that may or may not have been the case in the first few years of my of my career.
Yeah.
I may have more followers now than I had back then. So
Yeah. Do you mentor anyone now? Anyone, does anyone come up to you and ask you, hey, will you guide me? Will you mentor me?
I certainly think I do mentor
Yeah.
people. I don't think those words have ever actually been spoken like,
Okay.
hey, I want to mentor you, or somebody asking me that. But really, one of the two main reasons I get out of bed every morning is my direct reports, is my
Mhm.
general managers and the corporate team that I work with. And they're all very talented people. They're going to be successful in their own right. But if I feel that at this point in my career, if I can help them get 10, 15, 20% higher than they could have gotten on their own, then I feel a lot of satisfaction from that. And to me, that's what mentoring is
Yeah.
giving them the advice and the skills, sometimes telling them things they don't want to hear,
Hmm.
but helping them achieve things that maybe they couldn't have quite gotten to on their own.
Yeah. I love it. Our previous podcast, we talked a lot about mentoring and mentorships, and I know our young listeners love that. But what was the one of the hardest career decisions you've had to make, and what helped you make it?
One of the hardest career decisions I had to make
Mhm.
probably was returning back to Texas from California. I had been given a great opportunity. There was a VP that went out there that I had been working with for years and have and still have a lot of respect for. And we went out there and it was challenging, but it wasn't really the work challenges. It was just I had recently gotten married and started having kids, and we realized Texas was the life we wanted for our family, and nothing against California. Just was we had family support here and structure here, and cost of living certainly different. So the decision to come back to Texas and possibly give up on a great opportunity that company had given me. Now, that being said, I believe everything happens for a reason, and I feel really fortunate to be where I am, and everything certainly plays into that, right? Everything
Yeah.
plays a part into getting you to where you are. So I don't regret it, but it was a difficult decision at the time.
Yeah. That's amazing. What challenges or setbacks that really tested you, and how did you get through it?
Well, I'll go to the obvious, which was the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
I
Right.
remember March 16th of 2020, after a call with the franchisor, spending
Hmm.
the next 6.5 hours at our office calling every manager in the company and telling them that we were going to have to lay them off for what I guess my optimistic mind at the time thought was going to be 6 to 8 weeks. It turned out to be 7 months before we ever reopened any of the theaters, and then we subsequently had to reshut down most of the theaters because there was just no traffic coming in. We were doing 10% of our pre-pandemic traffic at that point. So um, that was like for a lot of people in the country and the world, and a lot of people had harder problems than business problems. They had health and family issues. I understand that, but from a business standpoint, it was a very dark time for a lot of people, and I'm really proud of the way that the teams, the ownership that I worked with, everybody, the brand that I worked with, that everybody worked together to get through that, because it was challenging at the time, but it's very fulfilling that we were able to bring everybody back that wanted to come back. So,
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, everyone talks about it today. We know we don't want to see this pandemic ever happen again. In hindsight, what do you think people don't see about leadership from the outside?
from the outside, they don't really, maybe all the if you've worked with really good leaders in your past, the right decisions may seem like they're the obvious decisions. Like if they would just do this, they just do that. That makes them a great leader. And what I don't think people that haven't been to that level yet realize is it's not always obvious what the right decision is. Very, very many times, you've just got to go with what your values tell you that the right decision is,
Mhm.
and do a good job of being transparent and communicative when you make these types of decisions. And, you know, fortunately, I think that if you do that, if you follow your values and your values are good, you're going to make the right decision a large majority of the time. But you are going to make the wrong decisions sometimes. And I think sometimes before you've gotten to that level, people expect high level leaders to have all the answers, and we really don't. We make mistakes like everybody else.
Yeah, we're human, right? I mean, it is what it is.
Absolutely.
What habits or mindsets do you have to unlearn as you grow into decision-making role?
What's funny is I don't know how long ago, but I realized the more I learn, the more I don't know. It's kind of like you know how in Wikipedia, like I don't know if other people do this, but I get interested in a topic and I'll go to the Wikipedia page and I'll start reading it. And then there's a hyperlink to some associated topic and I'll click on that. And all of a sudden I've got this whole other page with all this other stuff I need to learn. And I'll click into something else. And you realize I just came here to learn about this one topic, but there's so much more that I didn't know. And so I think that's helped me along the way. Keep reminding myself to renew my approach to things. I do like to triangulate on an idea and go with it and lean into it hard, but I also try to remind myself periodically to reevaluate it. And even if it's worked well for me, things change. You can reassess a couple of years into something. Recruiting's a good example.
Exactly. Yeah.
Recruiting's a good example. I have a strategy, but I still talk to my lead recruiters and say, is this strategy still working for us? Does it need it? Because the world changes, we need to change with it.
Yep. It wasn't like the days before LinkedIn. I try to tell that to the recruiters. I don't understand. How did you recruit before LinkedIn? Well, I'll give you the story.
Exactly. And it won't be the same in 5 years from now. So, just because something's working doesn't mean it will work forever.
Yeah, exactly. If you could go back to your 25-year-old self, one piece of brutal, honest advice to give, what would it be?
I had at Landry's at Saltgrass, I had a great mentor there, and I was struggling with one of my managers. This was early on. I was struggling with one of my managers, and he's a great guy. Everybody loved him. Everybody loved working with him, but he really wasn't performing. He wasn't taking care of the guests. He wasn't taking care of the team members, not in a bad way, but wasn't giving them what they needed to be successful. And I was really struggling with what to do. He was not performing, but everybody loved him. And this mentor came up to me and he said, listen, and one of our core values at that company was core value people. Yeah. And he came up to me and he goes, listen, Ed, the core value is people, not person. Mm-hmm. And you're focusing on this individual and what's right for him, but you're not seeing that he's responsible for 50, 60, 70 other people, and his non-performance is affecting them. So you've got to widen the aperture and look at the whole picture and balance your decision making and your leadership on what's not just right for the individual, but what's right for the team. Mm-hmm. And that was something I didn't understand in my 25-year-old self. It's black and white. There's a right way to do things and a wrong way to do things. And it, with that individual, it was like the right thing to do is take care of the guy. He's good to us. But in hindsight, looking back, it was like, no, we got to look and see what's best for the whole team and the whole organization. And that was a good learning lesson for me. Okay.
So if you could do it over again, would you have replaced him?
I did after.
Oh, you did.
Okay. I did after I got the advice, but I would say there were too many instances of keeping people on too long that were affecting the team. When it became obvious that it wasn't because of ability. If it's about ability, keep training them up. But once it's a conscious decision that they're making and they're not affecting the team, I probably didn't know those lessons early enough on. And I'm glad that mentor helped me see it differently.
That's awesome. That's awesome. What do you wish more young professionals in your industry understood about what it really takes to grow a career? I'm interested in what you have to say about this.
I'll give you two thoughts on this. One is, and this would apply they both would apply to most industries, but one is don't wait to be shown what to do. If you really want to grow your career, go out and get the information or go out and get the skills that you need and you need. And a good example of that is I was talking to one of my GMs a couple of weeks ago, and she was talking about an instance at her previous job where there was a person working there that had been there for 6 months and was complaining about, it's been 6 months and I've never even been shown how to do a produce order. And she was like, her advice to him was like, Well, pick up the clipboard and go do the produce order. And then before you send it in, have me look at it and see if there's anything I can correct for you.
Mhm.
And the mindset there, the guy was new to the organization, but the mindset was, um, don't wait to be shown how to do something. Go do it. Even if you make a mistake, it's better to ask for forgiveness than ask for permission. So
Yeah.
go
Mhm.
out there and the lessons from that are, um, we're all going to have great bosses in our lives and we're all going to have not so great bosses in our lives. And if you're really ambitious and you really want to grow your career, don't let your growth be the byproduct of the type of boss you have, right? If you have a
Yeah.
boss that's not interested in developing people, don't let your career suffer because of that. Still go out and get the information that you need.
Yeah. That's great advice. That's great advice. So, can you recall a time when a hiring decision completely changed the trajectory of your team for better or for worse?
Yes, I can remember back in my early days, we had a pretty well-functioning team at the time. We were all collaborating well together
Mhm.
and we're getting the job done. I wouldn't say we were, a rock team of rock stars or anything, but we were getting the job done. And we brought in somebody who was highly skilled. We thought we needed somebody to come in and take us to the next level. And we brought in somebody that had the skills and the ability to do that, but we didn't put enough thought and effort into the dynamic, the social dynamic of it, and how well they fit in with the members of the group. And to be honest with you, and to be fair to that person, we probably didn't do enough to prep them and set them up for a success in coming into the group. And so it came in and it messed up the chemistry of the team. And it was short-lived. And things ended up
Mhm.
working out in the long run, but there was three times as much work to be done to undo it and to fix the problem than it would have been done in the first place if we had been proactive about it.
Yeah. Well, it's a good lesson. You fail forward, right? I always tell people.
Exactly.
How has your approach to recruitment or talent retention evolved as your company has scaled? So I know you're going to be scaling as you open these new restaurants.
Yeah, this company, Katz, has been in Houston for 22 years and been in Texas for almost 40 years.
Mhm.
And it's a long established brand and a proud brand, and a lot of people grew up coming here when they were younger, and it just has a great reputation. Since I've been on board, we've been very deliberate in changing kind of the pay structure and the recognition, celebration, appreciation of our management team. We started measuring manager turnover a couple years ago and team member turnover a couple years ago, and those type of metrics really drove the things we did to try to keep people on board. To be honest with you, there's kind of an unofficial mantra here.
Yeah.
I've said this over and over to everybody that if we do the following three things at all levels incredibly well, we're destined for success. There's no way we'll fail. And those three things are: one, hire the right people, obviously. Two is
Mhm.
treat them very, very well. And by that I mean in all different ways. Make sure they're fairly compensated, make sure they are celebrated and recognized for the great work they do. Just how we talk to people on a daily basis, how we make them feel on a daily
Mhm.
basis. All those things go into treating people well. And then the third piece is invest heavily in their professional development. People, doesn't matter what they're getting paid. It doesn't matter what title they have or what their responsibilities are. People want to feel like they're growing and learning. And even if their title's not growing or their responsibilities aren't growing, if they feel like they're being developed by their company and their supervisor, that goes a long way to them feeling engaged and staying on board, to be quite honest.
Oh my God, that what you just said is music to my ears. I wish I could. I'm gonna almost have to clip that out and send it to those hiring managers that don't want to pay. Some of them don't are not paying right these days. Um, if someone wanted to attract great talent like you, been able to, what would you say is the secret?
It's hard because I mean, there's no blanket thing that any particular candidate's looking for, right? I
Mhm.
mean, for me, example, I'd like to think I'm in the last leg of my career, last 10, 15 years of my career, and I've landed somewhere that is perfect for me. We have
Yeah.
everything I was looking for at this point in my career, I have in Katz's, and that is a company that's very healthy financially and can grow without the constraints of a
Mhm.
company treading water,
Yeah.
to be quite honest. I have an owner that wants to grow at a good rate, not become a construction company and just growing for the sake of growing, who wants to grow at a rate that makes sense to our operation and organization. I'm making a difference. I knew when I came in that I'd be able to have an impact and make a difference, which is probably the most important thing to me, that I'm not just coming in and doing the job, but that I'm actually able to make an impact. And finally, I have an owner that we are so overlapped. We actually went through a process to implement a cultural piece, our fundamentals, which is our
Uh-huh.
version of core values.
Uh-huh.
And I don't want to say 100%, but 98, 99% overlap on the values we chose. We did it separately. And when we laid down the values we chose and the fundamentals we chose, there was incredible overlap. And that just highlighted why I like working for him so much.
Yeah.
So to the point to your question is, he and I had to spend 2.5 months together to identify that and to
Uh-huh.
recognize that, so we didn't make a bad hiring, a bad employment relationship decision. We did a lot of work for him to find out what I was looking for and me to find out if that aligned with what I was looking for. And so what you asked is not easy, but it's important to do the work. And to be honest with you, it's important for candidates to be honest. I mean, nobody wants to
Mhm.
be looking for a job 6 months because it wasn't the right fit. So a candidate needs to be willing to be honest and be willing to walk away from an opportunity if it doesn't seem like the right fit for them. And I know there's financial needs and pressures that people have, but you just don't want to be doing it again in 6 months. So a real transparent, communicative process is important when you're talking to prospective employees.
Oh my God, I love that. I just had a VP of marketing for our restaurant group. It just didn't blend well, so she walked away. Great background, but yeah, she walked away. Um, what's one unpopular opinion you have about your industry or leadership that you stand by anyway?
That's a great question. I haven't, I'm sure there's plenty. I know from talking to my team, if they came on right now, they would be able to put on the whiteboard 20
Yeah.
different ones for you. But I don't know. I would have to think more about that. I don't want to just throw
Okay.
something out at you.
Okay. That's okay.
But it's funny because I guess we all have our blind spots. I'm sure my team could tell you a gazillion of,
Yeah,
uh,
that's okay. No worries. What do you hope people you've worked with in your career would say about you?
One, that I was reliable. I think one of the most important things to me, and this did make it in our fundamentals, is one of the most important things to me is somebody who does what I say I'm going to do.
Mhm.
And that actually made it into our fundamentals. And one of our fundamentals is be a company filled with people who do what they say they're going to do. To know that I can be counted on and depended on is hugely important to me. And I'm almost to a fault. I won't say I'll do something if I don't think I can accomplish it, or I'll qualify it by saying I'll do my best.
Mhm.
That's hugely important to me. And then the second I would say is um, people, I say what I mean. And people
Mhm.
don't have to try to interpret what I'm really thinking. And I don't mean that in a direct, abrasive, maybe sometimes, but I don't mean that in an abrasive, difficult way. I just mean um, I don't um, I don't have fuzzy, mitigated conversations with people. I say what I mean, and then we have great conversations and discussions based around that. But nobody has to wonder kind of where they stand or what I'm really feeling. And I think that's important. I know I appreciate that when people do that to me.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. One book that changed how you think.
One book. There's a lot of books. I would start with when I was very young was Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Um, I would say that set a huge foundation for me. Just a lot of the principles that he had in there. I'm not going to give you one. I'm going to give
Yeah.
you multiple. So
That
um, a
was a good
really
one.
big one for me. I don't know if
Yeah.
you've ever heard of it or not, but it's a very small book called The Four Agreements.
I have
Uh,
not. Do you know who the author is?
Miguel Ruiz, I'm going to
Okay.
get this probably a little bit wrong, but he's a
Okay.
Toltec medicine man. And basically, these are four agreements that you make with yourself. It's not a leadership or a self-help book or anything. It's just four agreements that you make with yourself for kind of inner peace and serenity. And it was very powerful in my life. And then finally, restaurant related or industry related, I would say Setting the Table by Danny Meyer.
Okay.
Danny Meyer's Union Square Hospitality Group out of New York, the company that started Shake Shack.
Yeah.
And he's probably the number one hospitality guru that I've ever heard. And this book has a lot of great principles in it about hospitality and how to make guests feel. And so I would say those three were the biggest.
Oh, I love that. I love that. A mistake you're secretly glad you made.
So I will say this. It's kind of a funny story. It's how I got into the industry in the first place. I was 16 years old between my sophomore and junior year. I had just moved to Houston. My brother and I were walking through the Galleria, which is a huge mall here in Houston. And I was on varsity soccer. Wasn't really supposed to get a job because I needed to be focused on soccer. I'd played all 4 years, or already played 2 years varsity. So really didn't have the time or the ability to focus on having a job also. But 16 years old, walking through the mall, and I see this young lady that I wanted to go talk to hosting at the restaurant right next to the skating rink. And I walk up, and being kind of a awkward, 16-year-old kid, the only thing I could think to ask was, "Are you taking applications?" And so whirlwind, next thing I know, I'm bussing tables on a Friday night at Chili's in the Galleria, and I'm like, what's going on here? And if I recall, my coach certainly wasn't happy that I was working a job, and I don't remember if my parents were or not, but it was unplanned. And but almost immediately, the I got intoxicated by it. It got in my bloodstream. It was the energy in the restaurant, seeing new people every day, the subculture that goes into being part of a team at a restaurant, just everything about it got into my bloodstream. And so the mistake was I didn't need a job, hadn't planned to have a job. But that's how I ended up getting in the industry, and it's been great ever since.
Oh my God, I love that. Finally, our last question. What best advice you've ever received, and who was it from?
So the best advice I ever received was probably from my father. And he said, I'm going to get this wrong, but what I remember it is 99% of everything you're going to do in your life has already happened before. You have two options. You can go and try to figure it out on your own. And if you're smart enough and talented enough, you'll do pretty well. Or you can learn from others. You can learn from others that are close to you, people you work with, people you live with, people in your family, friends. You can learn from others that you can get a hold of through podcasts like yours or through, books or things like that. But one way is quicker, less painless, and probably has a higher ceiling than the other, but you get your choice to do it whichever way you want. And so I don't know if that completely set me on the path of being kind of a lifelong learner, somebody that wants to always learn, but it did. I'm a results-oriented guy. So if he's telling me that I can go farther, go faster with less pain if I listen to others and learn from others, I think that was pretty good advice.
Yeah. Well, look where you are today. I mean, that is great advice.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, everyone. That's a wrap up today's episode of the Leadership Lounge. I hope you're leaving with a spark of inspiration and a few ideas worth carrying into your journey. Be sure to follow us for more conversations and keep that energy going. Thank you so much, Ed.
Thank you, Cindy. I appreciate it.